Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Tasmanian children in state care don't feel they're being listened to or given a voice about decisions affecting them. That's one of the key issues in the first report to come from the Commission of Inquiry, with the authors calling for institutions to place children and their views at the heart of every policy affecting them.
Take notice, believers, and act. Not just this report's title, but also what its authors say those in care are seeking.
Many children and young people feel as though they're not respected by adults, that adults aren't always good at listening to children.
A lot of what children were talking about was the fact that they were not being directly consulted with, they were not being engaged in.
Taking 12 months to complete, the research paper was made public today. The experiences and opinions of nearly 60 children, set to impact how thousands more are cared for going forward.
The commissioners have used the findings and our suggestions about change in shaping the recommendations that they'll make.
Finding while most felt safe, gaps remained. Respondents expressing frustration about a lack of education on inappropriate relationships and consent. The authors also revealing some are not fully aware about how to make a complaint, with others fearing retribution.
Many of them are really anxious about how adults will respond, either that they won't be believed, but more significantly that there might be consequences.
Putting the actual colour and movement on that in the words of a child, I found hard to read.
The report calling for children to be placed at the heart of decision-making about their future.
They really have to be integrated into that policy and practice development in a way they haven't before.
Tasmania's Children's Commissioner wants the government to speed up reforms.
We have lost time and we need to put the accelerator down on these reforms in Tasmania.
Arguing the system is far from child-friendly.
They're limited by resourcing, they're limited by scope, they're limited by legislative function. These are things that need to be sorted out.
In a statement, Premier Jeremy Rockliff says the government will examine the report, also adding they won't wait for the commission to end to take action where they can to keep children safe. John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
In developing news, a male pedestrian believed to be in his 70s has been killed after being hit by a truck in Burnie. The crash on the Bass Highway near McDonald's happened just before 2 this afternoon. The cause of the crash is still being investigated. And the Tasman Bridge will light up in the flag colours of Ukraine tonight to mark the war's anniversary. It comes as around 20 protesters gathered outside Hobart Town Hall this morning. The group calling for Russian diplomats to be kicked out of the country and for more to be done by the international community to condemn Russia's actions. Tasmanians are being warned to be ready to leave their property as predicted heat wave conditions and strong winds place emergency services on high alert tomorrow. The Bureau of Meteorology is forecasting temperatures could reach the mid-30s in parts of the Derwent Valley, southeast and Midlands. A total fire ban will be in place across southern Tasmania from 2 a.m, with firefighters urging people to be alert.
If you haven't done already your 5-minute home bushfire plan, please do that immediately, but certainly just prepare for the next 36-48 hours just to be ready to react to what's around you.
Conditions are expected to peak tomorrow afternoon before a cool change is expected across the state. We'll have a full weather forecast later this evening. The long-awaited reopening of the siding on the Tasman Highway is just days away. The vital connector will partly reopen on Monday after extensive damage from the October floods caused it to be closed. Lane closures and speed reductions will remain in place, but at least one lane will remain open at all times. A 7-metre high support structure with rock-filled gabion baskets has been constructed to support the road. The propellers are in motion on a $15 million investment at the Royal Flying Doctor Service's Tasmanian base at Western Junction. Early stages of concept plans have been released, showing an expansion.
At least 10 years, I think aeromedical is going to grow significantly.
As you can see from this hangar here, it's doing a job, but we know it can do a better job.
The current facility hasn't had a major facelift since it opened in 1998. The Flying Doctor makes around 1,200 flights around the state each year. Fun in the sun is now more accessible at Swansea with the launch of 2 purpose-built beach wheelchairs. Locals have raised tens of thousands of dollars for the initiative in memory of a local woman who started the campaign.
Rolling into better beach access. Robbie G lives right across the road from Swansea's iconic beachfront. But getting him to and from the water has been a struggle for mum Maxine.
Because it's too hard in his normal chair to get him down. If I do take him down, we walk him, but if he has a seizure, then it's hard to get him back.
He'll be able to make tracks more easily now with the community's new beach wheelchairs. The lightweight design and big tyres make them easy to push across the sand or out into the surf.
He loved it. We've asked him and he said it was good.
They were a passion project for local aged care worker Pip Briggs, who was tragically killed in a car crash last year. Pip wanted her residents to be able to spend time in the sand.
We live in Swansea, a beach town. Our residents are people who have always been on the water, loved fishing, loved going to the beach.
Spearheaded by the aged care provider Pip worked for, locals raised nearly $30,000 in her honour.
She probably have some choice words in a nice way, but she would just be absolutely blown away.
Getting from the road down onto the sand used to be a major challenge for those living with mobility issues, but it's been made a lot easier after Mayshore installed this new footpath.
Well, as you can see, it was so easy to take it down and go straight into the water.
A lasting legacy for someone loved by so many. Annie Green, 7 Tasmania News.
A number of career expos will be held across the state in the coming weeks, with the Tasmanian Hospitality Association aiming to address staff shortages within the industry. It follows the success of last year's recruitment fair, which saw several attendees secure employment.
From that expo, we gained 2 front-of-house staff members and 1 apprentice chef for our kitchens. It was a really great environment to be able to sort of organically communicate with job seekers.
We're going to have the training providers from across the state attending. Different apprenticeship support networks will be there as well, and some hands-on activities for participants so they can get a feel for what hospitality is.
Hobart will host the first Career Expo next Tuesday and Wednesday before the event travels to Launceston and Burnie in March. An Andrew Lloyd Webber Classic will headline one of the biggest events on Tasmania's theatre calendar. Actor and musical star Rachel Beck will perform Tell Me on a Sunday for one night only during the Australian Musical Theatre Festival in Launceston in May. Lloyd Webber gave special permission to perform the show, which tells the story of an English woman swept up in romantic misadventures in America.
Don't live in silence with no words at all.
You know, whether you're playing Sally Bowles, whether you're playing Fontaine in Les Mis, whether you're playing, I don't know, whether you're playing Maria in The Sound of Music, you have to find those ways into the character, and there's always a big part of you in each character.
Todd McKenny from Dancing with the Stars will also perform at the festival, which runs from May 17 to 21. Monophoma is kicking off in Hobart with the summer festival celebrating the arts in style. Organisers are impressed with the success of the Launceston edition and are teasing what's to come this weekend.
The weird, wacky and wonderful is on display again, but this time on home turf at Mona.
It's not just a museum.
The Monophoma experience spreading to the south, with thousands expected to take in the sights over the coming days.
We always have a lot of interstate visitors, and their minds are blown every year. We like to do that. When they come here, they can see the museum, and then they can go hear the shows, hear the music. It's a full experience.
Wood chopping is one of the wonders at this year's event, putting pride on a platform.
The Queer Wood Shop is a mind-boggling and unique event for us, and it's tied in with pride.
It brings together a bunch of local wood choppers and experimental artists from across Australia together to make our own new unique sport that's a bit campy and a lot of fun.
The unique art installation shining a light on collaboration and celebration.
As one of our woodchop collaborators told us, sawdust is man glitter. That's the extent of our collaborative exchange, and I think that really says it all.
But the heat proved too powerful, with eager visitors having to wait a little longer to watch the performance, with the event postponed until later in the day. Meanwhile, those keen to don their dancing shoes will also be able to enjoy the party each night.
For the next 3 nights, from 10 to 3, we're inviting you into the old Mercury building where the newspaper used to be printed, where you can find 3 rooms of pleasure, hedonism, DJs, performance, light, sound, art, and magic.
A lustrous list of musical acts are also set to grace the stage this weekend, with Peaches playing some sweet tunes tonight. McKenna Bailey, 7 Tasmania News.
History's repeating itself, with Tasmania gearing up to take on South Australia in the WNCL final again. The Tigers feel prepared and are hopeful as they set their sights on back-to-back titles.
For us, it's just about sticking to our processes. We say it all the time. It can be a little bit cliche, but we know that that's what works for us. So ultimately, we've got to go out there and we've got to perform and we've got to play our brands. And if we do that, then hopefully we'll put ourselves in a good position.
We know we have to bowl very well to them to have an opportunity to set up the game. And yeah, obviously, if they get away, then we've got to have a little defender there. But we know the game can change pretty quickly.
The final gets underway at Blunston Arena tomorrow. Meanwhile, Tasmania has been well represented at the WNCL Player of the Year Awards. It was a tight contest, but South Australia batter and Tasmanian-born Courtney Webb took out top spot by a single vote.
To be honest, when I first heard, I think the whole tournament's been played with such high quality, and to hear how close the vote was, I think that's no surprise. But obviously, very honoured and proud to be receiving it.
3 Tigers players also placed in the top 5. Nicola Carey was a close second. Captain Elise Villani was voted in at number 4, followed by Lizelle Lee in 5th. Meanwhile, Western Australia took less than an hour to mop up Tasmania's last 2 wickets in their Sheffield Shield clash in Hobart. The Tigers were all out for 120 in their second innings, falling nearly 400 runs short of their target. The 2 sides have a one-dayer in Hobart on Sunday before facing each other again in another Shield match at the Wacker in a week's time. The Hobart Chargers women's side has unveiled its latest signing, with the name a familiar one to the local basketball community. Kayla Steiner, the wife of Jack Jumpers captain Clint, has signed on for the NBL 1 season. She has experience in the WNBL, WNBA and the American college system. Kayla hasn't played since 2021, taking time away from the game to have a child.
I haven't really touched a ball until a month ago with the girls playing or at training. So, yeah, I mean, play around with the kids a bit, but nothing serious by any means.
And the season gets underway in April. Still on motorsport, John Bowe will start second on the grid in the Touring Car Masters at Race Tasmania, while James Moffat topped the timesheets in the Trans Ams. It kicked off a big 3 days of action at Race Tasmania, which is opening the National Series. The Megabucks machines rolled out of pit lane, glistening in the Symmons Plains sun, before adding something for the ears as well. Today's practice in the S5000s was impossibly close, with the 2 front-runners setting identical lap times to 1,000th of a second.
Yeah, got some good racing in. You know, it's a competitive field this weekend, so good people to race against.
The only slow lap was when the drivers were on 2 feet. Behind the wheel, James Moffat set the pace in the Trans Ams.
There's one thing about Symmons Plains and the circuit layout, it always produces great close racing. Obviously you can see a lot of action down at that tight hairpin, so hopefully we're in front of all the mess and chaos that can happen there.
Will Brown's Audi RS3 recklessly ripped around the track in the TCRs to claim the best time of the session. A lightning start to the opening round, some drivers looking for a fresh start after a horror show last year.
We've been dead set unlucky in the fair income department, mate. We've just been wrong place, wrong time, too many times.
Hopefully the time is right for a change in fortunes this weekend. And with all the action out at Symmons Plains, we're winding back the clock 30 years for our Friday flashback. In 1993, a major revamp dragged Symmons Plains into the modern era and paved the way for yet another classic battle featuring John Bowe on the track. 30 years ago, Symmons Plains' primitive pit lane was set for a serious upgrade, as racing legend John Bowe explained at the wheel of a Southern Cross News Holden wagon.
Ultimately there'll be pit garages off on the right, and all the pit area will be behind that where the transporters and things are parked.
Over the following months, workers brought that vision to life, lifting the track to a new standard just in time for 1994's Touring Car Championship race.
And this is a brand spanking new start line at Symmons Plains, and Scaife will get there first.
As Mark Scaife burst away in race 1, Tasmanian Greg Crick had a dust-up with the guardrail. Although things went much better for John Bowe, who busted his way into 3rd behind Scaife and Glenn Seaton. But in race 2, the heat came from Peter Brock and Larry Perkins.
Whoa, crunch. There you are. Sorry about that, but I'll just sit down here on the inside.
But there was no catching Scaife, leaving all in his wake to lock in his 6th win in a row in the VP Commodore.
You know, half a dozen cars within nothing, so the rest of the series will be just like that.
Scaife had the traction well under control today. No worries.
No problem.
Nearly 20,000 fans crammed into Symmons Plains in a single day, a then record, enjoying the sights and sounds. Another good weekend at the track, Kim.
Good evening. Hope your Friday's been a great one. Hobart and Grove, a nice day today. 32 degrees the state's high. Launceston 27, Devonport 25, a bit cooler in Burnie. Some temperatures were up on average by 5 to 10 degrees. King Island, Strawn and Ooze 31, Friendly Beaches 26, Flinders Island 25 today, St Helens 24, Liaweenie reached 21 degrees. Areas of low cloud moved over the northeast of the state. There was higher cloud streaming above as well. Lots of thunderstorm activity over the tropical north of the nation. More cloud over Western Australia, extending over South Australia as well. Tomorrow, the monsoon trough continues over the far north. We've got a low pressure zone off to our northwest, and the high to the east still affects New South Wales and Queensland. Winds up to 30 knots tomorrow, swinging around to be more northwesterly later. Lighter winds over the lakes. There is a strong wind warning that's issued from St Helens Point to South East Cape, and also for waters from Low Rocky Point to Stanley. Saturday, Hobart, showers developing. Top of 31 degrees though, 28 for Medina. Windy for Oatlands with late showers, 29 the maximum. Launceston shooting for 30 degrees, 80% chance of a shower or two, mainly later in the day. Showers developing for Devonport, 25 the top, 22 for Liaweenie. Burnie tomorrow, a high of 23 with showers increasing over the northwest and west. Strawn 26 and 23 for Marrawar. For St Helens tomorrow, mostly sunny, 28, 30 for Swansea. Chance of a late shower further south over Orford, a top of 29 degrees. UV dropping to 8 tomorrow, but still in the very high range. A few showers on Sunday, mainly over the east, south and Bass Strait. Fine and partly cloudy on Monday, light southeasterly winds, and on Tuesday a few showers over the northwest, extending elsewhere in the afternoon. And on the mainland, a sunny warm 33 in Perth, morning showers and a lot cooler in Adelaide. 31 degrees and a few showers for Melbourne, sunny in Canberra and Sydney, a fine 29 in Brisbane. And not to forget the total fire ban in the south tomorrow from 2 a.m. It's still warm in Hobart, 28 at the moment, 23 in Launceston, Devonport partly cloudy, 21. Very hot day tomorrow, Kim, and I think my makeup might start to run, which brings me to another point. I'm over 60 years old and never used essential oils. How essential can they be?
It's Friday. You need a couple of days off, Merch, to improve on your jokes. That is all we have time for tonight. Have a safe weekend, everyone. Good night.